intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there, not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Barak Atah. Um, we greet you today in the name of Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya Wawarak Kwadash. This is the Crystal Jones Show. It's a show that's all about life's balance. Hope that you are having a wonderful and a peaceful Sabbath. We have great things for you, but let me bring you in on how you can watch the show on a weekly basis. You can watch the show every Saturday from 7 to 8 p.m. on bronxnet.org. That's channel 951 and 2137, the Inspired channel on your cable channels. Also, you can always check me out on my YouTube channel. Let's grow that channel. Thank you all for joining the channel. Please continue to subscribe, watch my videos, like, and share them. Also, you can check me out on Instagram. I usually daily have Bible quotations that are very inspirational that can help get you through your day. And also check me out on HebrewConnect.tv. All right. Okay, so we're going to start off as we should with the Word of God. Today is in the book of Joshua, the 65th chapter and the first verse. It says, "And it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all the elders of Egypt assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him." Okay, so now we're in a new season of what we're talking about with the patriarchal history of of the Hebrew Israelite people. Okay, we had previously been talking about Joseph and how he had become the king of Egypt and how he started out. You know, he was basically in the fields and doing things with his brethren, but he was the favorite child, so he really didn't go out and work as the type of work they did. His father more so taught him governing and things like that. His father's Jacob. So of course his brothers got jealous and they sold him into slavery, but the Lord allowed it because eventually what happened was the land went into a famine, and Joseph arose. By that time, he was made king of the land. So he taught the people how to do so that they wouldn't starve. So you see that Joseph he finally got in touch with his father, who was Jacob, and brought all of his family to Egypt, and he took care of them. But the Lord had told Jacob, okay, you're here now, because your son is here, and this is my doing. But eventually your people have to go back to Israel, which is Canaan, because that's the land that the Lord has chosen for us as a people. We didn't come from the different countries that you see us spread out in today. We're originally from Jerusalem. So, there was that struggle there between Esau and Jacob. They were brothers, and they didn't get along. Jacob chose the ways of the Lord, but Esau wanted the ways of the surrounding nations of people. And so he eventually, made League of Nations with other countries and things like that. So now we're moving on in the story, and Jacob dies, but Esau, because he sold his birthright, he still thought he was going to be slick and have the land. So when Jacob's sons, Joseph and his brethren, they went to bury their father, Esau tried to claim that was his land, but Joseph said, "Oh no, bro, I have the deed. My daddy, my father gave me the deed. He told me what happened between you two, because Esau and Jacob didn't get along. They were always struggling and fighting." And so he went and got the, the deed and everything like that, and he went on and said, look, we gonna bury my father. So in the meantime, Esau came and tried to interrupt the funeral procession and all of that, and he wound up being killed by one of Joseph's nephews, I believe. So it was a showdown, go down between Esau and Jacob's families, right? Which is what's going on in the earth today. The same thing, right? So this is basically what I'm bringing to you is the Black patriarchal history in the Bible, because prior to this, we were told that we were some other nation of people, which was not true. And I've read, portions of even different books that have written on the history of who the original Jews were. All right. It started with Abraham. Abraham was told that he was going to be given a land and nations would come through him and all of that. And so that Israel was the chosen nation of priests and people that would bring the people to the worship of the Most High God. So, of course, when our people didn't obey and we went into different captivities, this captivity that we've been in here is the last captivity according to Bible prophecy. But just that we didn't know that we were the people. We were told we were the Gentile nations, and that wasn't true. That was something that was made up during the Renaissance period so that we could remain enslaved in our minds. So I'm bringing this to you so that you will know who you are in the scenario. Just because you're not us doesn't mean that God doesn't love you or that we're against you or anything like that. But God has an order. And our duty is to bring the people back to the worship of the Most High. That's it. That's all. No other, you know, other kind of crazy stuff or hatred or nothing like that. So now we're going into the next leader after Joseph had died, and our people were still in Egypt. There arose a king that did not know Joseph. So that, of course, they enslaved our people. All right. So we're going to be talking about that later on today. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what we've been studying. We've been studying the Black patriarchal history in the Bible. And right now we're moving on to Moses. Okay. So now we are going to go to today's news. Today's news, please start stocking up uh, for the famine ahead. Water crisis is high on the rise. A lot of states are having major problems with water. The water is contaminated in a lot of places, and that type of thing. So we got to get ahead of it and not be behind it because, eventually something is going to hit us as well. So we better get on it and start getting this water filtrated and all kind of whatever things that we got to do to make sure our water is safe for us and our families and our neighborhoods. We got to get on it. So start stocking up for the famine, getting the barrels of water and the filtration systems and things that we need to get in place. All right. Okay, now on a sad note, we have to go to the missing children. All right, these children have been missing since 2021. The first one is Nazura Gray. She's been missing since September 6th of last year, 21, from Chicago, Illinois. She's 18 years old. She's a Black female. Her eye color is brown. Her height is 5'6". Her weight is 120 pounds. If you know anything about her disappearance, you've seen her, please contact 1-800-THE-LOST, which is 843-5678, or missingkids.org. Okay? All right. The next person that we have on that list, okay, we have, let's see where we have this here. We have Wendy Garcia Brito. Okay, bear with me a minute because these things download kind of slow. Okay, Wendy Garcia Brito. She's been missing since September 10th of 2021. All right. She's from Houston, Texas. Her age is 18. She is a Black female. Her eye color is black. Her height is 5'5". She weighs 120 pounds. All right. So she was last seen on September 10th. If you know of her disappearance, 1-800-843-5678 or missingkids.org. All right. The next person that we have that is on our missing children's list is Zakaria Green. Okay. Let's pull up her information. Zakaria Green. Okay. She's been missing since September 9th of last year. I'm pulling up her information now. All right. She's missing from Los Angeles, California. She's 18 years old. She's a black female. Her eye color is brown. Her height is 5'2". She weighs 135 pounds. If you know anything about her disappearance, 1-800 The Lost or missingkids.org. And we have one more person for today. We have DeAndre McElroy. All right. Let's pull up him. DeAndre McElroy, right? He's been missing since last year, September the 9th, 2021. All right. Let's pull him up. Where'd he go? Here he is. Okay. He is missing from Louisville, Kentucky. Age 17. He's 17 years old. Okay. He is a black female. I'm sorry, a black male. Ooh, sorry. Black male. His eye color is brown. His height is 5'10", and he weighs 157 pounds. If you know anything about his disappearance, 1-800 The Lost or missingkids.org. All right. I want to say something on this too. I'm seeing something that's very troubling. A lot of you are walking down the street with your kids way behind you. Don't do that. Please stop doing that. I saw yesterday, I'm riding on the express bus and I see a lady walking down the street and she has a toddler and he's way behind her and she's just walking like this is normal. No, we're living in a treacherous day and time. Stop making your kids vulnerable. Your kids are vulnerable. Stop making them easy access to human traffickers or people that will just harm your children. Keep your children by you. You need to see them at all times. Stop letting them walk behind you. That's not good at all. And I'm talking little young kids. This little kid must have been, I don't know if he was 2. Maybe he was 2. I don't know. But it was disturbing. If I could have caught her attention on the window, I would have told the lady, Miss, keep your kid near you, please. Stop being careless with your children. Some people, they're with their children and their children are being snatched from them right out of their hands. I'm sure many of you have seen, even in it was in one of Walmart's or one of those places. There was a woman walking with her kid. Her kid is 12, and she had wrestled this man down because this man, she walking right with her daughter, and this man tried to wrestle the child out of her mother's arms. This woman, she was beating that man down. She was trying to, but can you imagine? She was with the child right by her. But you all are just giving the kids away. Like, stop it. Those of you who are doing that, stop letting your kids out of your eyesight, especially toddlers. They could go missing like, nothing. They could run out in the street, anything. I was very disturbed to see that. Please stop doing that. Make sure your children are in your eyesight. Yes, I'm trying to scare you into doing the right thing. Stop letting these kids just walk about like ho ho ho, hum hum hum. Nobody's gonna, no, don't do that. All right. Thank you. I hope and pray that these young people will be found, even though they've been missing for about a year. Still, God is able, and my prayers are with them and the families. I hope they'll be found, but I hope they're found alive and that they're alive, they can be restored. Because when you've been kidnapped and these people human trafficked you and stuff like that, who knows, the mind. They used to have a commercial. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. So when these nut jobs get, a hold of these kids and stuff like that, hopefully their mind will be restored. All right. So we're going to move on to the next thing, which is health and wellness. During the cooling season, get ready for the winter in case there's no water. All right. There may be a problem with the water. I always said the water crisis, the water's tainted, you know, and all that strange, nobody knows what's going on, right? Remember the thing in Flint, Michigan? Oh, well, we don't know. And, you know, all of that kind of crap. And everybody had to send water bottles out there. You know, we had to send case. Remember that? Sending cases and cases of water so that people could have clean water. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. And then now the same thing in Mississippi. And I gotta notice all of these areas are where it's 80 and 90% people of color. What's up with that? Right? So let's get on it. Let's get on it now. Because Mississippi, supposedly they cleared up the situation. But I don't know, because that's what they were saying about Flint. And I'm understanding Flint is still going through the same thing. All right. So let's let's get ahead of all of this stuff that's going on, this chaos. All right. So now the business tip is do outdoor events, have a water crisis drill event, see what you could come together and do in your churches, your neighborhoods, and all of that kind of stuff, so that everybody can have clean water, okay, and be able to wash and eat and all of that kind of stuff. We don't need to be going through craziness during the winter months when it's cold, and it might not be no electricity because if the grid go down, and all of this nuclear warfare that's going on, all of that stuff eventually is going to affect everybody. So let's pull together now and get ahead of it. All right, because this world is really out of control. It's a lot of chaos going on, so we got to be proactive and not reactive. All right, so we got down to the part here. Shama Yasharala. Ahaya Alahaya Nawa. Ahaya Ekad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord our God, He is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. So whoever calls on the name of the Lord, whether you're Israel or not, I'm not saying that God only loves us. No, we were chosen for a certain thing. But the other nations, if they honor and respect the Lord, He receives them too. So, but I'm calling my people, let's get back together and get to what we were doing. Let's stop all this crap about us being against each other and all the, everything is sexualized and calling each other the B word and all of this kind of stuff. Stop that mess. It's time to go back to the Lord. It's time for us to grow up and be who we're called to be. So I gotta first get on my people, right? So that's so that you understand me and where I'm coming from. I love everybody, but we gotta be right with the Lord, okay? Because He gave us this earth, He gave us everything in creation, and then created us. So we're living below our means. We're living below what we should be living. All right. So let's get it together, y'all. All right. So now we're going to go to Moses. We're going to go to the story about Moses, who is now the new leader. He's going to be becoming the new leader. So we're going to read about how that came about. And we back in the apocryphal book of Jasher, which is the 65th chapter. Now, remember, the book of Jasher is from the apocryphal book that was taken out of the Bible. All right. But originally it was put there by our brother who was a Hebrew Israelite, King James. All right. He got together with the scholars and they put the Bible together. But those books were taken out because there are certain religions that do the things that we're not supposed to do. So they didn't want us to know what the Lord really wanted. So we have to go back and read some of these books too, so that we get the whole full backdrop. Because in the Bible today, we only have the 66 books, which are summaries. But the apocryphal books, they bring it out. They tell you about the fallen angels and all of that kind of stuff. So, get them books, get those books, those from 1611, that original published Bible. We got to get back to that. All right, so Jasher, the 65th chapter says, and it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all the elders of Egypt assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him. All right. So these are Egyptian people. All right. But we were living amongst them, right? For one, our forefather Joseph, he had been sold into slavery by his brothers over jealousy, and due to the fact that he was able to interpret dreams that was given to him by the Lord, he was able to save Egypt and all the world alive from a famine. So that generation passed away. Joseph and his brethren. Esau had already gone to the other nations and was living amongst them. He had forsaken his Hebrew heritage. So, and the counselors and elders of Egypt spoke with the king, saying, Behold, the people of the children of Israel is greater and mightier than we are. Uh-oh, here comes the jealousy. And thou knowest all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle, right? So they're saying that our people did them some kind of evil when they returned from battle, right? And thou hast also seen their strong power, for this power unto them from their fathers. This power, I'm sorry, is unto them from their fathers, right? Because we came from the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We had strong power from the Lord. All right. When we walk in the ways of the Lord, you can't mess with us because we don't, our power comes from God. And when people attack us or do something to us, the Lord has wiped nations out for messing with us, right? And they see that, but they still jealous here, right? So it says, For but a few men stood up against a people numerous as the sand, right? And smote them at the edge of the sword. And of themselves, not one has fallen. So we would go to battle against people that were greater in number than us, but they would get wiped out, and we were still worshiping God and praising the Lord, right? So that if they had been numerous, they would then have utterly destroyed them, right? Now, therefore, give us counsel what to do with them until we gradually destroy them from amongst us, lest they become too numerous for us in the land. Doesn't that sound familiar? Sounds probably like over here when we came out of slavery and we were still being attacked, and our people killed a lot of the slave masters and took over their plantation. We was like, we ain't having this because we don't come from this kind of stuff. You ain't gonna enslave us forever, right? So we grew too numerous, and so that's when they got the law force that it as today. That's how they came into power, because it was to so-called keep us in check, keep our numbers in check. And the same thing goes on today, right? You see them arrest other people, other nations of people, but our people, when they arrest them, they'll shoot them and kill them, right? Because they're afraid of us. Okay, so now these Egyptian people, these counselors are asking, give counsel what to do with them until we gradually destroy them from amongst us. We had lived amongst them. We have fought battles, and stuff like that. We treated them like brethren, but now they're jealous of us because we're multiplying, right? So he said, lest they become too numerous for us in the land. For if the children of Israel should increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they, with their great strength, notice they know we have strength. Don't doubt it. All right. Know your worth among the people, even though they treat you crazy. Know that they are afraid of you, right? Their great strength will join our enemy against us and fight against us, destroy us from the land, and go away from it, right? So they're figuring that we'll, take over, and then we bouncing, right? So the king answered the elders of Egypt and said unto them, This is the plan advised against Israel, from which we will not depart. Now, this is a new king that didn't know Joseph, right? So he's going to get in with them to destroy us, like a lot of what's going on now. You get stopped for your light on your car, and all of a sudden you in jail for 5 years for something stupid like that, right? It's the same nonsense going on in the earth over and over and over again. The fight from against Esau and Jacob. All right. So now, so this king says, they're gonna devise a plan against us. Behold, in the land are Pidom and Ramesses cities unfortified against battle. It behooves you and us to build them and fortify them. Okay. Now, therefore, go you also and act cunningly toward them. So, isn't that what they do? Vote for me. I'll set you free. Vote for me. If you don't vote for me, you ain't, vote for me. I'll do something for your people. Yet all the other people get money. They get this, they get that, never do anything for us, right? And proclaim a voice in Egypt and in Goshen at the command of the king, saying, all ye men of Egypt, Goshen, Patros, and all their inhabitants. All right. The king has commanded us to build Pidom and Ramesses and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst you of all Egypt, of the children of Israel, and of all the inhabitants of the cities are willing to build with us? Like, so they're going amongst them being deceitful, pretending that, yeah, you're in the land here and you're like our brother, build with us. Like, familiar, right? Join our army. All right. Okay, so build with us. Shall each have his wages given to him daily at the king's order. So we even gonna pay you. Be all you can be, right? So go you first and do cunningly and gather yourselves and come to Pidom and Ramses to build. And whilst you are building, cause a proclamation of this kind to be made throughout Egypt every day at the command of the king. And when some of the children of Israel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. So these no good people are planning to only pay our people only a few days. Just get them on board. Lie to them enough so that they believe in you. Vote for me, right? And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one in secret. And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and you shall leave them afterward to build without wages. And should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build. Slavery. Isn't that what they did? Isn't that what they did to us, right? Same thing. Just a whole different way that they do it. Now, the way our people got here over in America, we were kidnapped. I don't care what they tell us about. Oh, yeah, well, they made deals with. No, they kidnapped us and brought our people over here to this country. But they're not gonna. They ain't gonna admit to that. They're gonna say, "Oh, they were indentured servants." That's an indentured lie, an invented indentured lie. Okay, so uh this is how they do this, the same thing that they do even today, right? So, and if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Israel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Israel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their wives day by day. Oh boy, that's always been right, to break up our families, right? Get rid of the man, the black man, so that our nations don't continue. All right. How do you do that? Through welfare, through uh, putting our men in jail for no reason at all, you know, for having some of their people push our women to do feminism. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I don't need no man. And all of that kind of stuff to break up our families so that we don't have any families. Still going on today. Still going on today. When will we wake up? We have to wake up. We have to talk about these things. All right. And all the elders of Egypt heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all Egypt. And they did according to the word of the king. So these Egyptians were evil people. They turned after our forefather Joseph was kind enough to save them from a famine. This is how they repaid us. And the same thing when we got here after being kidnapped and millions of our people were lost in that Atlantic Ocean. I don't even know how these people can live with themselves knowing that this is what was done, and they have not really apologized about it or done anything, to try at least to make up for it, which you can't, because if you killed that many people, can you imagine what God is going to do in judgment against them that partook in that? So you have all the servants went away from the king, and they caused a proclamation to be made in all Egypt, and Tachpanches, and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Egypt, saying, "You have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us." So Esau and Ishmael went against Egypt when we were over the land of Egypt, because Esau betrayed us. He betrayed his Hebrew heritage, and he went with he was in a league like with Ishmael, and they came against Joseph. Joseph's child, they came against Joseph, who was Jacob's child. So they came against the 12, who would have been the beginning of the 12 tribes of Israel. So our people fought alongside with Egypt against, some of our people who turned against us, right? So now, therefore, the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities, Pithom and Ramses, and to fortify them for battle if they should again come against us. Whosoever of you from all Egypt and from the children of Israel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us. And when Egypt and all the children of Israel heard all that the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from the Egyptians and the children of Israel to build with the servants of Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramses, but none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build. Okay, so out of our tribes, remember Levi was the Levites. They were the priesthood of our people. So the priesthood really was not supposed to be the ones going to war, because they had to carry out, the religious ceremonial parts of the Hebrew Israelites, right? And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with deceit to build with all Israel as daily hired laborers. And they gave to Israel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all Israel and were employed in that work with Israel for a month. Now, this here is black on black crime, because the Egyptians at that time were black. They were very dark people. And so were the Israelites. So this one here, this is black on black crime, right? And at the end of the month, all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Israel daily. All right. And Israel went on with the work. At that time, we were working. We were thinking, okay, let's do this. But they then received their daily hire, because some of the men of Egypt were yet carrying on the work with Israel at that time. Therefore, the Egyptians gave Israel their hire in those days, in order that they, the Egyptians, their fellow workmen, might also take the pay for their labor. And at the end of a year and 4 months, all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Israel, so that the children of Israel were left alone, engaged in the work. Isn't that how they do you sometime, right? And after all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Israel, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. So now you were working alongside of us. Now all of a sudden you think you're my officer. You think you're over me. I don't think so. But this is how it went down. And some of them stood over the children of Israel as taskmasters, to receive from them all that they gave them for the pay of their labor. Slavery. And the Egyptians did in this manner to the children of Israel day by day in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Israel were alone, engaged in the labor, and the Egyptians refrained from giving any pay to the children of Israel from that time forward. And when some of the men of Israel refused to work on account of the wages not being given to them, then the exactors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows and made them return by force to labor with their brethren. Thus did all the Egyptians until the children of Israel all the days. And all the children of Israel were greatly afraid of the Egyptian in this matter. And all the children of Israel returned and worked alone without pay. And the children of Israel built Pithom, Ramesses, and all the children of Israel did the work. Sounds a lot like what happened here in America. Some making bricks and some building, and the children of Israel built and fortified all the land of Egypt and its walls. Lot like how we built the White House, the Capitol, and all of that, right? Okay. And the children of Israel were engaged in work for many years until the time came and the Lord remembered them and brought them out of Egypt. But the children of Levi were not employed in the work with their brethren of Israel from the beginning unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. Okay? For all the children of Levi knew that the Egyptians had spoken all these words with deceit to the Israelites. Therefore, the children of Levi refrained from approaching to the work with their brethren. So they were even going to help out, even though they were the priests. But they were like, no, these people are fooling the rest of the tribes, the 11 other tribes. So we gonna be the one. We ain't doing this. No, right? So, and the Egyptians did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterwards, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore, the Egyptians left them alone, right? Because they said, oh, they got something on us. And the hands of the men of Egypt were directed with continued severity against the children of Israel in that work. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel work with vigor, just like we did here in America. And the Egyptians embittered the lives of the children of Israel with hard work in mortar and bricks, and also in all manner of work in the field. And the children of Israel called Melol, the king of Egypt, Merer, king of Egypt, because in his days the Egyptians had embittered their lives with all manner of work. And all the work wherein the Egyptians made the children of Israel labor, they exacted with rigor in order to afflict the children of Israel. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. So God said, I'm going to fix them. The more they afflict you, the more you're going to populate the place, because they being stupid and thinking that they're going to really get over. And the Egyptians were grieved because of the children of Israel. Same thing happened here in America. They thought that they would put us on plantations and we wouldn't multiply. But listen, we always seem to come out multiplying. At that time died Hadad, the son of Bedad, king of Edom. I'm in Jasher, the 66th chapter now. And Samla from Mesreka, from the country of the children of the east, reigned in his place. In the 13th year of the reign of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, which was the 125th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, Samaria had reigned over Edom 18 years. And when he reigned, he drew forth his host to go and fight against Zepho, the son of Eliphaz. I always told you, keep your eye on that Zepho guy. He's the grandson of Esau. Okay, because they had made war against Angeas, king of Africa, and they destroyed his whole army. But he did not engage with them, for the children of Esau prevented him, saying he was their brother. So Samlah listened to the voice of the children of Esau and turned back with all his forces to the land of Edom, and did not proceed to fight against Zepho, the son of Eliphaz. So remember, now Edom has become a kingdom. The Edomites are Esau's people. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, heard this thing, saying, Samlah, king of Edom, has resolved to fight the children of Kittim, and afterward he will come to fight against Egypt. And when the Egyptians heard this matter, they increased the labor upon the children of Israel, lest the Israelites should do unto them as they did unto them in their war with the children of Esau in the days of Hadad. So the Egyptians said unto the children of Israel, Hasten and do your work and finish your task and strengthen the land, lest the children of Esau, your brethren, should come to fight against us. For on your account will they come against us. So they started blaming us that Esau was against them. But Esau was against them because they were with us. They were along with us because we lived in their land and our forefather Joseph was their reigning king at the time. But they want to flip the script on us and act like they don't know what's going on, right? So, and the children of Israel did the work of the men of Egypt day by day, and the Egyptians afflicted the children of Israel in order to lessen them in the land. So this is what they do. They inflict different things upon us, sickness and all kind of stuff, because they figure they'll wipe us out, right? So, but the Egyptians increased the labor upon the children of Israel. So did the children of Israel increase and multiply, and all Egypt was filled with the children of Israel. And in the 125th year of Israel's going down into Egypt, all the Egyptians saw that their counsel did not succeed against Israel. All that they have tried to bring against us, so that our children had ADD and all of these nasty science that they give our children, medications and stuff like that, to so that so many of them wind up in what do you call it? They get ADD, special ed, and all of that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is instructed by our enemies. They meant for that to happen to these children. Our kids weren't born like that. When we were in our own land, our children were healthy and all of that. So this is garbage. It's just that our people didn't know any better. You know, once we came out of slavery and stuff like that, a lot of things were not told to us. So our people were gullible. They would, take and let them give these kids all of these medications and things like this. And this is why our kids are, have the difficulties that they do in learning and things like that, because they've been given a lot of garbage, if you know what I mean, into their bodies. So all the elders of Egypt and his wise men came before the king and bowed down to him and sat before him. And all the elders of Egypt and the wise men therefore said unto the king, May the king live forever. Thou didst counsel us, the counsel against the children of Israel. We did unto them according to your word. But in proportion to the increase of the labor, so do they increase and grow in the land. And behold, the whole country is filled with them. Good, right? So, now, therefore, our Lord and King, the eyes of all Egypt are upon thee to give them advice with thy wisdom, by which they may prevail over Israel to destroy them or to diminish them from the land. And the king answered them, saying, Give you counsel in this matter, that we may know what to do unto them. And an officer, one of the king's counselors, whose name was Job from Mesopotamia in the land of Uz, answered the king, saying, If it please the king, let him hear the counsel of his servant. And the king said unto him, Speak. And Job spoke before the king, the princes, and before all the elders, saying, Behold, the counsel of the king, which he advised formerly respecting the labor of the children of Israel, is very good, and you must not remove from them the labor forever. But this is the advice, counsel, by which you may lessen them, if it seems good to the king to afflict them. Behold, we have feared war for a long time. When Israel becomes fruitful in the land, they will drive us out from the land. If it please the king, let a royal decree go forth, and let it be written in the laws of Egypt, which shall not be revoked, that every male child born to the Israelites, his blood shall be spilled on the ground. That's what's going on today, y'all. That's why they kill our kids. That we're those people. Those curses came upon us because our people turned from the Lord. All right. Once we got back to Israel and all of that, our people started following these surrounding nations. And this was in these people, is to kill people, to sacrifice blood and stuff like that, child trafficking, all of that kind of crap. It comes from a lot of these different surrounding nations. There's no such thing, y'all, as white people. There's no such thing as black people. There are nations of people. All right. But the surrounding nations, the Lord told us not to follow after these people because their ways were evil before the Lord. All right. That's why all this stuff that's going on in the land now, the child trafficking and all of that kind of stuff, that stuff was going on back then. All right. And this is what's going on now. All right. So they wanted to kill these children. And by your doing this, when all the male children of Israel shall have died, the evil of their wars will cease. They want to kill our men. You know how many of our women lose babies yearly because of poor advice, because of poor food that's not, because a lot of our people still live in poverty and stuff like that. And a lot of our women die giving birth to children. Okay, because this is what the plan is, to wipe the Israelites out. All right. So now, and by your doing this, when all the male children of Israel shall have died, the evil of their wars will cease. Let the king do so and send for all the Hebrew midwives and order them in this matter to execute it. So the thing pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Job. And the king sent for the Hebrew midwives to be called, of which name one of them was Shephrah, and the name of the other Puah. And the midwives came before the king and stood in his presence. And the king said unto them, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools where they give the birth, if it be a son, you will kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But if you will not do this thing, then will I burn you up and all your houses with fire. All right. But the midwives feared God. See, you have to fear God above all else, because they will try to turn you against your own people. So you have to say, no, I ain't doing that. No. Right. But the midwives feared God and did not hearken to the king of Egypt, nor to his words. And when the Hebrew women brought forth to the midwife a son or a daughter, then did the midwife do all that was necessary to the child, so that the child would live. Thus did the midwives all the days. And this thing was told to the king, and he sent and called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing to have saved the children alive? And the midwives answered and spoke together to the king. Let not the king think that the Hebrew women are as the Egyptian women. All right. For all the children of Israel are Hallie. We were very fruitful. We were very healthy. And before the midwife comes to them, they are delivered. So we were able to just deliver our children we didn't need no midwife, nobody. Boom. The kids will come out. We were very healthy people. And as for us, thy handmaids, for many days no Hebrew woman has brought forth upon us. For all the Hebrew women are their own midwives, because they are hale. Right. And Pharaoh heard their words and believed them in this matter. And the midwives went away from the king, and God dealt well with them, and the people multiplied and waxed exceedingly. See, the devil may have a plan, but guess what? Guess who created him? All right. God is still his boss, whether he thinks so or not. Okay. God is in charge of him. Right. So now I'm in Jasher 67. There was a man in the land of Egypt of the seed of Levi, whose name was Amram, the son of Kehath, the son of Levi, the son of Israel. And this man went and took a wife, namely Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, his father's sister. And she was 126 years old, and he came unto her, and the woman conceived and bare a daughter. She called her name Miriam, all right, because in those days the Egyptians had embittered the lives of the children of Israel. So that's why her name was Miriam, meaning bitter. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Aaron. Okay. For in the days of her conception, Pharaoh began to spill the blood of the male children of Israel. In those days died Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, son of Esau, king of Kittim, and Janias reigned in his stead. So remember, Zepho's people are very evil people. So his lineage you'll see. And Johnny is one of the mighty men of the children of Kittim, reigned after him, and he reigned 50 years. And it was after the death of the king of Kittim that Balaam, the son of Beor, fled from the land of Kittim, and he went and came to Egypt, to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Pharaoh received him with great honor, for he had heard of his wisdom, and gave him presents, and made him for a counselor, and aggrandized him. All right. So in the 130th year of Israel's going down to Egypt, Pharaoh dreamed that he was sitting upon his kingly throne, and lifted up his eyes and saw an old man standing before him. And there were scales in the hands of the old man, such scales as are used by merchants. And the old man took the scales and hung them before Pharaoh. And the old man took all the elders of Egypt and all its nobles and great men, and he tied them together and put them in one scale. And he took a milk kid and put it into the other scale, and the kid preponderated over all. And Pharaoh was astonished at this dreadful vision. All right. Why the kid should preponderate over all. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, was a dream. And Pharaoh rose early in the morning, called his servants, and the king said unto his wise men, interpret this. And Balaam the son of Beor answered the king and said unto him, this means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. Those people believed in a lot of different dreams that would be prophesied to them. For a son will be born to Israel who will destroy all Egypt. That was the dream he was having, was that Moses was going to come and destroy that whole plan. All right. So you can't stop God. Just get on his side, y'all. Just get on his side. I don't care if you are Israelite, whatever, get on the side of the Lord. Don't pay no attention to these crazy people that do stuff that ain't right. Right. So he says in Jasher, the 67th chapter, the 18th verse, and Balaam the son of Beor answered the king and said unto him, this means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. For a son will be born to Israel, right? Who will destroy all Egypt and its inhabitants and bring forth the Israelites from Egypt with a mighty hand. That would be Moses. Now, therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you may destroy the hope of the children of Israel in their expectation before this evil arise against Egypt. Now, these people are so stupid that they think that they're going to stop what God is going to do. So he's telling him, this is what's going to happen, but you better get ahead of it. How could you get ahead of God, right? And the king said unto Balaam, and what shall we do unto Israel? Surely after a certain manner did we at first counsel against them and could not prevail. Now therefore give advice on this. And Balaam answered the king, saying, send now and call thy two counselors, and we will see what their advice is on this. And the king sent and called his two knuckleheads, the counselors, Ruel the Midianite and Job the Uzite, and they came and sat before the king. And the king said unto them, behold, you have both heard the dream which I have dreamed, and the interpretation thereof. Now give the counsel. And Ruel the Midianite answered the king, may the king live. If it seem good to the king, let him desist from the Hebrews and leave them, and let him not stretch forth his hand against them. For these are they whom the Lord chooses in days of old. In other words, this guy was saying, you better leave them alone, because God has chosen them as the lot of his inheritance from amongst all the nations of the earth and the kings of the earth. And who is there that stretch his hand against them with impunity, of whom their God was not avenged? So you saw in the past, Mr. King, with your dumb self, that anybody that went against these people, God avenged himself through them. So you probably better back up from this. So this guy had enough sense to say that. Surely thou knowest that when Abraham went down to Egypt, Pharaoh, the former king of Egypt, saw Sarah his wife and took her for a wife. Pharaoh wanted Sarah and took her for a wife because Abraham said, she's my sister, because he knew that they were going to probably try to kill him, for he was afraid. And when the king of Egypt had taken Sarah, God smote him and his household with heavy plagues until he restored unto Abraham his wife. And then Sarah was healed, right? That way she was able to have a child, because she couldn't have a child with this crazy man who was a king that took her from her husband, Abraham, right? And Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, got punished on account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, and stopping up every womb from man to beast. So God even stopped up the wombs of the women of this particular king who was trying to get with Sarah. When their God came to Abimelech, the dream of night had terrified him, in order that he might restore Abraham Sarah, whom he had taken. And afterward, all the people of Gerar were punished on account of Sarah. And Abraham prayed to his God for them, and he was entreated of them, and he healed him. So Abraham had to even pray for his enemies, because God put such a bad thing on them. They couldn't even have children. All right. And Abimelech, that wicked king, feared all this evil that came upon him and his people, and returned to Abraham and his wife Sarah, and gave him with her many gifts. He did so also to Isaac when he had driven him from Gerar, and God had done wonderful things to him, that all the water courses of Gerar were dried up, and their productive trees did not bring forth, until Abimelech of Gerar and Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Pichol, the captain of his host, went to him, and they bent and bowed down before him to the ground. So the Lord even made these people bow to Abraham. And they requested of him to supplicate for them, and he prayed to the Lord for them, and the Lord was entreated of him, and he healed them. Many times people have done things to us, and they had to come and repent to us. And they requested of him to supplicate for them, and he prayed to the Lord for them, and the Lord was entreated of him, and he healed them. Jacob also, the plain man. Let me see. I'm running out of time, I think. Okay, Jacob also, the plain man, right, was delivered through his integrity from the hand of his brother Esau, and the hand of Laban, the Syrian, his mother's brother, who had sought his life. Okay, likewise from the hand of the kings of Canaan, who had come together against him and his children to destroy them, and the Lord delivered them out of their hands, that they turned upon them and smote them. For who had ever stretched forth his hand against them with impunity? In other words, if you come against us, you're coming against God. We didn't give ourselves this power. If we pray to the Lord, he will take care of every situation. He has wiped out nations for us. So it's not us, it's God. And it wasn't because we were the most people in the beginning. We were the fewest of people. He started with Abraham. All right. He told Abraham to come out from the Chaldees and that he would make him a nation of people. So we grew from there, but we were the fewest for a while, we were the fewest of people around. All right. So we're going to continue that, and we'll go into Moses will be born and all of that kind of stuff. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. Kwam Yasharala Kwam. All right. And remember, you can watch the show every week. All right. Rise up, Yasharala, rise up. And you always stay balanced. Watch the Crystal Jones Show every Saturday, 7 to 8 p.m. BronxNet, channel 951, 2137, the Inspired channel. All right. Catch me on YouTube, the Crystal Jones Show. All right. Like, share, join my YouTube page, and check me out on Instagram. All right. The Crystal Jones Show and HebrewConnect.tv. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. You stay balanced.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.